30 minutes from American soil, one Chinese nuclear submarine worth $3 billion, 98 souls aboard, and just 90 minutes for the US Navy to make it all disappear. This is the story of how Beijing's most advanced underwater weapon became a tomb on the Atlantic seafloor, and why China will never forget October 30th, 2025. October 30th, 2025, 4:47 a.m. Eastern Time. While Miami sleeps, something moves beneath the waves. Deep in the Atlantic, hydrophones pick up a sound that shouldn't be there. It's faint, almost imperceptible, but the signal processing computers know exactly what they're hearing. Nuclear reactor cooling systems, propulsion displacement, 8,000 tons of Chinese steel cutting through American waters at 400 ft depth, 8 knots, heading 285 degrees directly toward the port of Miami. The Suez Array, America's underwater surveillance network, has been tracking this intruder for 840 miles since it slipped through the Bahamas Channel. The Chinese crew believes they're invisible, running silent, executing their mission perfectly. They have no idea that every bearing change, every speed adjustment, every tactical maneuver has been recorded, analyzed, and reported up the chain of command. They think they're the hunters. They're about to learn they're the prey. This isn't just any submarine. This is Hull 417, a Type Aero 93 Shane-class attack submarine. $3 billion of cutting-edge Chinese naval technology. 351 ft long. Nuclear-powered with unlimited range. Maximum speed 30 knots, maximum depth 1,300 ft, commissioned in 2022 from Huludao Naval Base. First confirmed presence in the Atlantic. First detection near the U.S. mainland. First and last violation of American coastal sovereignty. The weapons aboard make this more than an intelligence-gathering mission. 24 YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles with 300-mile range. 6 torpedo tubes loaded with 533mm weapons, and the terrifying possibility of nuclear-tipped warheads within striking distance of 6.1 million people in the Miami metropolitan area within range of Port of Miami, Naval Station Mayport, 240 Manizales North, and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, 200 Mallard Northeast. One submarine, multiple catastrophic scenarios. At 4:52 a.m., Fleet Forces Command receives the alert. The intrusion represents an unprecedented provocation, but protocols exist for exactly this situation. The information rockets up to the highest level. At 5:17 a.m., the president receives the briefing. The situation is clear. Chinese submarine operating without authorization, refuses communication, continues approach toward major population center, carries weapons of mass destruction. International law permits coastal nations to demand surfacing and identification. The submarine's refusal to surface constitutes hostile action. The president's order is unambiguous. Locate it precisely, force it to surface. If it refuses or attempts to attack, destroy it. Timeline immediate. At 5:23 a.m., USS Virginia SSN 774 receives the execute order. The Virginia-class submarine is 180 miles northeast, but it's the apex predator of submarine warfare. Maximum speed 34 knots. Sonar that detects targets beyond 190 meters. 26 Mk-48 heavyweight torpedoes, each weighing 3,700 Ln with a 650 lb warhead, wire-edgy guided with active-passive homing. Maximum speed 55 knots, maximum depth 50 ms. Virginia begins its intercept course. Transit time 92 minutes. 4 minutes later, a P-8 Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft scrambles from Jacksonville. It's airborne by 5:27 a.m., loaded with acoustic detection systems, Sonobo, magnetic anomaly detection gear, and Mk-54 torpedoes. Flight time to target area, 34 minutes. At 5:31 a.m., USS Arleigh DDG-51 gets underway from Port Everglades, 42 ME from the intercept point, carrying advanced anti-submarine sonar and weapon systems. The trap is being set. Multiple platforms converging on precise coordinates. The Chinese submarine has no idea what's coming. At 5:45 a.m., Hull 417 maintains course in speed. Now 38 miles from Miami Beach, the crew operates normally, running checks, standing watches, believing their stealth characteristics have defeated American detection. They assume coastal surveillance has blind spots. They assume wrong. The P-8 Poseidon arrives on station at 6:01 a.m., establishing an orbit pattern at 200 ft altitude. The crew deploys 16 sonobuoys in a barrier pattern directly across the submarine's predicted track. Active buoys transmit sound pulses, passive buoys listen for returns. At 6:07 a.m., contact, active return at bearing 127 degrees, range 8,200 yards, depth estimated 388 ft to classification submarine, positive identification, type 093 Shan class submarine. The Chinese submarine just triggered the detection net and sealed its fate. USS Virginia receives the targeting data at 6:09 a.m., 23 min from the Chinese contact, closing at combined speed of 42 knots. Time to weapons range 31 minutes. The commander orders battle stations, torpedo room crews flood the tubes, open outer doors, and develop the fire control solution. Every variable calculated, range, bearing, depth, speed, all factors incorporated into the perfect firing geometry. At 6:24 a.m., Virginia reaches optimal attack position, range to target 22,000 YD within torpedo effective range, but outside Chinese detection capability. Perfect ambush geometry. But protocol demands one more step. At 6:26 a.m., Virginia establishes underwater telephone communication. Messages transmitted in English and Mandarin. Unidentified submarine. This is U.S. Navy. You are operating illegally in American territorial waters. Surface immediately and identify yourself. Failure to comply will result in use of force. The Chinese submarine responds at 6:28 a.m., not with words, but with action. Sharp turn, speed increased to 22 knots, diving to 600 ft, attempting to escape the trap. It's the last mistake they'll ever make. At 6:29 a.m., USS Virginia fires 2 Mk-48 torpedoes, both weapons running hot, accelerating to 55 knots. Acoustic, homing activated. Wire guidance providing updates. The Chinese submarine detects the launch at 6:30 a.m., emergency evasion procedures. Hard turn, maximum speed, deploy countermeasures. But the Mk-48 is designed to defeat exactly these tactics. At 6:31 a.m., 4 acoustic decoys eject from the Chinese submarine, generating sound signatures mimicking the real target. But Mk-48 torpedoes incorporate neural networks trained to identify real submarines through Doppler analysis and signal processing. The weapons ignore the decoys and continue tracking the actual target. At 6:33 a.m., the first torpedo enters terminal attack phase, active sonar pinging continuously. Closing velocity exceeds 60 knots. Range decreases 500 kite, 300 YD, 100 wadi. Impact. The first Mk-48 detonates against Hull 417 at 6:3347 a.m. The 650 lb warhead explodes on contact, shaped charge, focusing explosive energy through the 2-in steel pressure hull. The blast wave propagates through the interior, pressure spike ruptures compartments. Water floods through the breach. At 600 ft depth, structural integrity compromises immediately. Hull sections begin collapsing under seawater pressure. 8 seconds later, the second torpedo strikes the forward section. Double impact ensures total destruction. The Type 093 breaks into 3 major pieces and begins its final descent toward the ocean floor 2,400 ft below. Total time from torpedo launch to target destruction, 4 minutes 47 seconds. Underwater acoustic sensors detect the breakup at 6:34 a.m. Metallic groaning, compression fractures, implosion signatures. The sounds tell the story of catastrophic hull failure. P-8 Poseidon deploys additional sonobuoys around the impact site. No active propulsion sounds, no reactor signatures, no acoustic emissions consistent with an intact submarine. USS Virginia maintains position, listening for survivors. There are none. 98 Chinese sailors died instantly, crushed by seawater pressure, drowned in flooding compartments, killed by explosive trauma. No survivors recovered, no rescue possible. The $3 billion submarine rests in pieces on the Atlantic seafloor. USS Arleigh Burke arrives at 6:47 a.m., establishing a surface security perimeter. The search reveals minimal evidence: small oil sheen, plastic fragments, personal effects. Most wreckage remains submerged after the deep implosion. Underwater drones deployed to document the wreckage field. The imagery confirms everything. Type 093 hull sections, propeller blades, reactor compartment, torpedo tubes, missile launch cells. Positive identification verified. At 7:18 a.m., Strategic Command receives confirmation. Chinese submarine destroyed. No survivors, no intact weapons recovered. Nuclear reactor contained within sealed compartment with no radiation release detected. The operation succeeded completely. Total time from initial detection to confirmed destruction, 2 hours 31 minutes. But from presidential execute order to submarine sinking, exactly 90 minutes. In Beijing, at 8:47 a.m. local time, Naval Headquarters loses contact with Hull 417. The scheduled communication window passes without response. Emergency protocols activate. Attempts to raise the submarine fail. Satellite surveillance of the known position reveals U.S. Navy vessels and P-8 aircraft overhead conducting obvious anti-submarine operations. Chinese leadership realizes their $3 billion submarine is lost. Crew dead, mission failed. Provocation backfired catastrophically. China's official response comes at 2 p.m. Beijing time. The Foreign Ministry claims the submarine conducted routine patrol in international waters and accuses the U.S. of unprovoked attack against a peaceful vessel, demanding explanation and compensation. The lies convince nobody. International maritime law is clear. Submarines must transit territorial waters on the surface, showing flag identification. Hull 417 did neither. It operated submerged, refused identification, and continued hostile approach after warning. The U.S. response constituted legitimate self-defense. The destroyed submarine represents a significant intelligence windfall. Type 093 incorporated China's latest submarine technology, reactor design, propulsion systems, acoustic quieting, weapons integration. All that technology now rests on the Atlantic seafloor, available for American recovery operations. Navy salvage teams will extract critical components and reverse engineer Chinese systems. The intelligence value exceeds the operational cost of destruction. China lost a $3 billion submarine and 98 trained submariners. America gained comprehensive access to Chinese submarine technology. The acoustic data recorded during the engagement provides additional intelligence gold. Type 093 sound signatures at various speeds, depth change acoustics, evasive maneuver patterns, countermeasure effectiveness, reactor noise profiles, all recorded by multiple sensors analyzed by specialists and incorporated into submarine detection databases. Future Chinese submarines face improved American detection capabilities. Their acoustic signatures are now known, their tactics understood, their limitations exposed. Allied nations observed the engagement with approval. NATO partners recognized the legitimacy of the U.S. response. Japan requests briefing on anti-submarine tactics employed. Australia inquires about P-8 coordination procedures. South Korea accelerates submarine warfare training. Regional allies understand that a Chinese submarine operating near Miami today could operate near Tokyo tomorrow or Sydney next week. American decisiveness in defending territorial waters reassures allies that their waters receive the same protection. The 90-minute neutralization timeline establishes a new operational standard. Detect intrusion, deploy multiple platforms, coordinate sensors, develop targeting solution, execute attack, confirm destruction, all within an hour and a half. That tempo prevents adversary submarines from accomplishing missions and demonstrates American anti-submarine warfare superiority that no other navy can match. Chinese submarine operations near the U.S. mainland ceased immediately. Beijing learned the cost of provocative intrusions. Lost submarine, dead sailors, international embarrassment, intelligence compromise, and no strategic gain. Future Chinese submarine commanders will remember Hull 417 and understand that American coastal waters are covered by comprehensive surveillance, protected by lethal anti-submarine forces, and defended with zero tolerance for unauthorized intrusion. The Type 093's mission objectives remain unknown. Intelligence gathering against port facilities, mapping underwater terrain, testing American detection capabilities, practicing infiltration routes for wartime missions, positioning for strategic strike, all speculation. The submarine sank before revealing intentions, but intentions don't matter. An unauthorized submarine near the American coast constitutes a threat, and threats receive appropriate responses. This engagement establishes precedent. Submerged submarines operating without authorization face immediate neutralization. No warning beyond the initial demand to surface. No second chances, no negotiations. Surface and identify or be destroyed. That's not aggression. That's enforcement of international maritime law. Defense of sovereign territory and deterrence through demonstrated capability. The bottom line is undeniable. One Chinese nuclear submarine penetrated within 30 miles of Miami. The U.S. Navy detected it, tracked it, warned it, and destroyed it. 90 minutes from execute order to confirmed sinking. 0 American casualties, complete mission success. A $3 billion provocation answered with overwhelming anti-submarine warfare capability. Hull 417 and 98 sailors rest on the Atlantic seafloor, a permanent reminder that American coastal waters aren't negotiable. China claimed peaceful patrol. History records illegal intrusion and decisive response. Strength through maritime dominance. Security through comprehensive surveillance. Deterrence through decisive action. That's U.S. Navy anti-submarine warfare.